the best podcast on the planet.
All right, remember back when we were kids, right? There was always this game, Which Would You Rather? Anybody remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember playing that game?
I'm not that old.
Like, would you rather...
No, I'm just kidding. I didn't remember that.
You do remember this.
Yeah, I know.
Would you
Really, right out of the gate, you're going to be a problem. Right out of the gate, you're going to
Would
be
you
a
rather
problem.
slide down a slide of razor blades or suck snot out of somebody's nose?
Oh,
Yeah, see, okay,
Yeah.
we don't...
What?
Oh, we don't
Well,
have
you
to
had
be that
to, when you're a
gross.
kid, that's what you did.
Right, but that's exactly right. Okay, so I made a note here, and the topic of our conversation is going to be kind of that game, but with a little bit more mature stance to it. And knowing us, I use the term mature
I was going to say, I'm like, are you
loosely.
sure? I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
know.
So here we go. Here's your choice, right? Which would you rather have as a trusted confidant? Somebody that you know is going to be somebody you go to and you trust to give you advice. You've got a problem, you got something on your heart, you go to this person and you're looking for a reasonable response, right? So which of these two individuals would you rather have? Individual number one, someone who is completely, brutally honest with you, who tells you exactly what's on their heart, what's on their mind, and doesn't pull a punch. They don't
Sugarcoat.
they don't sugarcoat. Thank you. Very good. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't worry about whether or not it's going to hurt your feelings. They don't try and choose phrasing that might be easy to hear and palatable to your sensibilities. You know what I'm saying? They're a blunt instrument, but you know exactly what they're thinking all the time. Okay? You know, there's no manipulation, you know. Or person number two, this individual will tell you exactly what you want to hear at the time you want to hear it, will even possibly say things to you that they don't genuinely mean just in order to influence you or to coerce you. You know what I'm saying? They're not, you're never really sure that what they just said, do you really mean it, or are you flinging a big old pile of BS at me? Okay? But it's palatable. It makes you feel good. And you think, well, that's a really nice person. Okay, those are your choices, person A or person B. Which would you rather have?
I mean, obviously, person A, but I think a lot of us, deep down, even though we wouldn't admit it, would rather have person B. I have a person A in my life, and she's awesome. But sometimes, I'm like, I can't talk to her right now because I know what she's going to say. And I'm like, I don't feel like they're calling out my crap right now. So can I'm going to wait because I know what she's going to say, you know? So but just being brutally honest here, like we're talking about.
Right.
I think, the obvious answer is person A because we actually grow from that person. But if we're brutally honest with ourselves, I think a lot of us would prefer to have person B because it's just nicer on the soul. So, so it's tough love versus, you know.
All right, Dale.
Yeah, probably A. But just
really?
because, just because somebody tells you that doesn't mean you're going to listen to them, though. You know what I mean? Like you can get their take on it, but it doesn't mean you might not like what they have to say, but you'd have to weigh out whether you want to take their advice or not, even though it might be brutally honest and everything, you know?
Okay, that's a good point. That's a very, very good point. Just because they tell you something that's brutally honest and possibly offensive, okay, doesn't mean you have to believe it, doesn't mean you have to take it to heart. But will you? Let's say this is somebody that's really close to you, is a really good friend, like I said, a confidant, and what they just said to you is crushing. Are you able to set down your feelings, set down your offensiveness or offense, What am I trying to say? You're being offended.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Are you capable to set down your defenses? Thank you. And hear what that individual says, or are you going to go off and go, well, no, what I just heard, I don't like it, and now go on the offensive against them? Maybe unfriend them. Maybe quit talking to them. Maybe write them off and never see them again. How are you going to react to that?
Well, I remember one time I was having I forgot what kind of problem, probably a girlfriend problem, and I talked to you a little bit about it, and you called me a loser. So how am I going to come back from that? I mean,
that sounds like something you would say.
Yeah, I mean,
no, it doesn't. I would not call you a loser.
There's no defending or coming back from that. I mean,
I did not call you a loser.
Nowhere to climb but up from the bottom of the floor. You know.
Wow, hang on a second. I got to get a validation.
I'm kidding, dude. I'm kidding.
Okay. 'Cause I know you have one time in the past you've had just one issue with relationships.
But you've been married so long, you forgot how it is.
No.
Right, Holly?
Sure.
By the way, for those of you tuning in, Holly just had, what was it, your 5-year anniversary.
Try 8.
More, dude.
Are you serious?
8
years?
8.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because you got married before I left Florida, and I've been gone from Florida for 8 years. Okay, so that's right. Your daughter just turned 3.
She's 4. She's about to turn 4.
Okay, I don't know who you are at all. You're just some person that I invited. Hey, you want to do a podcast?
We don't know her anymore, Seth.
I'm going to pretend like I know you.
Holly just growed up.
Okay.
Away from us here.
Time is rough. When you do morning radio, time gets away from you. 8 years?
8.
Okay.
Does your body hurt yet? I want to know if your body hurts.
Yes. I've had a child.
We had that little fitness challenge one time for the radio show.
Yeah.
She was laughing at Seth and I because we were hurting like crazy.
Yeah.
She just,
you know what? Listen, I know we're trying to be serious, but that brings up a really interesting thing. When we did that challenge, that workout challenge, I injured my shoulder. I injured the shoulder, pressing, and it popped. My shoulder popped.
Ow.
And it hurt for the longest time. And taking off my shirt earlier this evening, I pulled it off, my shoulder popped. It's the same stinking injury that comes back every once in a while. It's like, dadgummit. Yeah. But you can see how I kept the workout up and I'm just ripped now.
Yeah, me too.
Sure,
no. I know.
It was ripped.
I honestly think, since the last time we talked, I shaved the beard, but I think I gained 5 pounds just in that time, just in that little time frame between then and there. Okay.
Well,
all right,
anyway, I'm just saying I hurt. I'm getting older. I'm in my 30s. It happens. We went swimming for the first time the other day, and I forgot how much of a toll that takes on your entire body. And I was like, "What is this? I didn't even feel it." And later, I felt it.
I didn't do anything. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So let me give you an example. I had an example. 2 friends were brutally honest with me. One friend, when I went through a divorce, I was kind of getting, I was recovering mentally, emotionally from the divorce and began dating. And he was asking me how it was going, how was the relationship going. And I was honest with him. I told him. And he says, "You're just being selfish." Like, wow. No, I'm trying to be happy. He goes, "Yeah, you're trying to be happy. You're not really taking into consideration the emotions, the feelings. You're not caring about anybody that's around you. You just want to feel better." I'm like, "Well, you jerk. I don't want to talk to you anymore." But the problem of it was he was right. And after a while, it's like, okay, it's sunk in. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you don't realize it in the moment. And that's one of the things, too, is those brutally honest friends. They may tell you and you go, "No, I'm not accepting that." And you're rude.
Right.
Like that sounds dumb. And then like a week or two later, things start sinking in and you start seeing it. And it's like, oh, darn. Yeah. Okay.
So when was the last time you had somebody legitimately tell you something that really, really bothered you? But after a while, you knew they were right. And you don't have to bring up the specific issue. You don't have to say, "Oh, well, they told me about this that was in my," but just describe it. And I want to talk about that because this is the dynamic we're facing right now, is that in politics, in racial issues, in economics, and all of these things, even when it comes down to just having dinner together as a family, there can be the attempt of helping the other person by being honest, but they don't hear what you just said. They hear something totally different, and they take it not the way you intended it. And that's something I think that if we work at understanding the other person and working at trying to phrase it so that they hear it better, and then when we hear something that isn't palatable, we chew on it a little bit, set down our defenses, set down that automatic, yeah, well, to you, pal, put that aside and actually go, oh, hang on. Maybe you're right.
Let me chew on that. And they might be wrong. There's always that, some people are manipulative and you think that they're really great. I've met those people too. And then you're like, hold on, like I'm going to listen to you. But after I chew on it, I decide I'm going to spit that out because you're not right. Or
well, see, that's person number 2 I was talking about. They tell you what you want to hear, but they're manipulative. They're being dishonest. I mean, it's genuinely dishonest.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a process of learning and listening to what those people are saying. And, for me, honestly, the biggest thing that has helped me in those situations is active listening. And I know that sounds like such a basic thing and they teach you in school or whatever, but it's such an important thing because I can't tell you how many times I've had those conversations where I'm talking to someone and they say it and I literally, I don't get what you're saying. And so I'm like, hold on, can you clarify that? Because I'm hearing A, B, and C. And they go, no, that's not what I meant. I meant D, E, and F. And I'm like, oh,
exactly.
Okay. And then let me reiterate what I heard to you, just so I'm making sure I'm hearing you right. Because
so you call that active listening? I've heard that described as mirroring.
Same thing.
You tell me, and then I just repeat it back to you to see if you if I've heard you.
That might
correctly.
be the correct term. I don't know.
I don't care about what's correct. I just want to make sure we're thinking of the same thing.
Yeah.
So Dale, what's a time where that's actually happened?
Since you asked us to do that, I've been trying to think of an instance.
Dale's perfect. He never gets any better.
Sure.
I don't know. I can't think of a particular instance like that.
Well, I mean, think about work.
I have tons, probably.
Loser.
Wow.
See? Wow, I just had a flashback. PTSD
from this, man. Oh.
What about you, Holly?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is maybe work or something. Because, I mean, workplaces, they try to do that kind of thing where they're like, okay. And it's usually not directed. I can't think of an instance where it was just me, but maybe it was like a team. And it's like, hey, here's where we failed at this. Let's make it better. And so I'm such like a fixer and I'm just everything is very logistical and, I don't know that I just like getting things fixed. So I try to keep the emotion out of it and go, okay, how can I fix that next time? Okay. Next time I'm going to do this. Next time I'm going to do that. And so,
and you're anti-confrontational.
Oh gosh. I don't like confrontation.
All right. So let's look at an example. All right. Let's say you're at work. All right, let's just run with your example, Holly. Let's say you're at work and the boss comes up to you, kind of looks at your stuff and goes, what are you working on? How do you take that? And now we've all had that happen, right?
This is what bugs me. This is one of my
What are you working on?
I'm doing something. I know what I'm doing, and it's basically one of the few things I'm very confident at doing, whatever it could be. It could be, I don't know, cooking or whatever. And somebody comes up, well, you're not doing that right, or tries to tell me how to do it, and I get, I hate that. That's the worst. Now, on the other hand, if I don't know how to do something, I welcome the help and everything. You know what I'm saying? But
especially when you're parallel parking, you love.
Oh, that's all.
I feel like
you just remember.
I feel like there's a story here.
You were there. You were probably there when I used to have to
you were there, Holly.
Oh, I do.
I
do remember some road rage, but I don't think it had to do with other people or other drivers.
Dale would try and parallel park the van because there was a time there you were the only one allowed to drive. All right, we're talking about our old morning show where all three of us were together. Dale was the only one allowed to drive the vehicle for a while because my driving record.
and
needed
I was
improvements.
too young to rent a car, so they're not going to let me drive a van. So
Right.
And you only have parameters. You have these like cones with other cars, so you only have a little place to park. And this old codger wants to wave me back, and I'm like,
"Come on,
don't watch me!"
I do remember
he
that.
hates it when people watch him parallel park. It's hilarious.
And they would give him direction,
and then I would do something like what my dad would do. I'd stand next to his van.
I didn't
and
mind
wait,
you.
And he would come back, but he would be backing up real nice and slow, and I'd smack the side of the van. Oh my God, Dale!
That old codger, if I could have got to him.
Can you say codger? I don't know if that's the correct term.
Well,
what does codger mean?
Probably not something nice. I mean,
I can think of worse things for him to say, so let's just let him have that. Okay, let's just say that. Okay, so back to the thing. When your boss comes up and says, "What are you working on?" I've always taken it as, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing this. What are you doing?" But a survey asks a whole bunch of bosses, employers, and legitimately when they're asking, "Hey, what are you working on?" it's meant to be, "Hey, how's it going? Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there anything that you need to make your job better?" But when it's phrased, "What are you working on?" we get defensive, and it's like, "What do you mean? What am I working on? I'm doing my job. Back off."
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's really interesting, and it's like that's not what he meant. That's not what he wanted to say, or she, not to be sexist. But it's how we perceive it. So one of the things that would help that is to go, "What are you asking me?" But then again, you got to be careful, because that can turn into a confrontation too. "What are you working on? What are you asking?" You know?
Yeah. I've had coworkers get, because that's definitely not me. I'm definitely not on the defensive because I feel like I'm confident. Because I'm like, if you're asking me what I'm doing, I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I have a gigantic list in front of me. Do you want to know what I'm doing? Oh, I'm doing this, this, and this, and I'm confident in what I'm doing because I know this is my job. So I can answer that in a calm way because I'm like, I'll work on this.
Is that calm?
Well, generally.
Was that calm?
It's sassy.
It's smart sassy.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing. But it's in a nice way. You're like, oh, here's my list. You know, if you want me to work on something else, go ahead. But by all means, just know that this is my list.
Right. Well, and there's things that we generally misunderstand, and even history has misunderstood. All right. Are you guys familiar with the phrase from Karl Marx? And I know we've all read a lot of Karl Marx, haven't we?
Is that Richard Marx's dad?
I believe so. And he was the lesser known Marx brother.
Okay.
We all know that, right? There's Harpo and Karl. Anyway, he once said religion is the opium of the masses. Now, we all know Karl Marx, socialism, communism, et cetera, et cetera. And I jumped a lot there in history, so that was the extremely abbreviated version. But Karl Marx is generally accepted as the father of what has become modern-day communism, et cetera. And so he said, religion is the opium of the masses. What do you think he meant by that?
Ooh.
You didn't tell me it was going to be an exam on today's show.
How about you tell us what you think, Seth, and then I'll
This will be graded. Well, a lot of people have interpreted that religion is the opium of the masses, meaning that only the ignorant, only those that were without means were the ones that relied on religion, that it was foolish to rely on religion because God's not real, right? He's invisible and you can't see him or touch him, but the state will always take care of you, my friend. Sound familiar? But actually, that is not what he meant. Throughout history, even in my college classes, this was used as an example of how communism, socialism was anti-religion, anti-God. But he himself explained that at the time, opium was the only real anesthetic that was available. And that opium is what was used. It wasn't seen as a harmful drug or addictive. It was what you did to bring yourself happiness and to bring yourself peace and to find some rest from your labor and your toil and the grueling situation that was your life. And what he meant was religion is the opium of the masses, meaning it brings peace and joy. That's what he actually meant. And so I found that to be just an astonishing example of we can say one thing and the other person will hear something completely, totally different.
In this case, like history, time, people hearing it one way, and then with the changing of the time and generations and history and things happening, people hear it completely different. Because obviously, just the word opium is just that simple thing. He's referring to one thing, and we're totally thinking of something else. So
exactly. Now, let me clarify. I am in no way defending Karl Marx. Neither do I support socialism and or communism in any form. And that does include democratic socialism. That sucks.
I mean, I think the background
that's not what
of
this
your
one's about.
Screen kind of tells us that. So I think we get it.
With the black?
Yeah, sure.
Is this what you're saying? The black weaving? Is that what you think just makes it very clear that I'm a brass knuckle capitalist and conservative Christian, that kind of thing? Oh. Okay, well, I thought that was. I thought that maybe it was the shirt.
Oh, definitely the shirt.
Sometimes it is not through time that things get mistaken. You know, something said and someone takes it another way. Sometimes it could be during a press conference, and I'm not going to refer to the press conference, and the people take it a different way than what you take it as. It's like
this is happening more and more and more, and this is the thing that. It goes back to person A and person B. There are times when an individual comes forward and they have to be so meticulous in what they are about to say to a group of individuals because they cannot be brutally honest. If they come out and say exactly what's on their heart, what's exactly on their mind, then some of the people that hear the message are strategizing, how can I use that against them? Instead of saying, hang on a second, I know that was really hard to hear. I know that was crass. I know that was brutal. But let me, for a moment, just try to understand what is it they were actually trying to say. Instead of strategizing how to bring that person down or strategizing how to use that for your own gain, how about trying to make an attempt of listening of, okay, how can we use this information to make everyone better?
I mean, when it comes to politicians, like, that's just not going to happen. Because, I mean, you got to think, too. Think of it from your comparison of earlier. The person, like person A, you know, that's a friend. That's somebody that you trusted, that they have a history of you being able to trust them as a good person and all the things or whatever it may be. But when it comes to a politician, they have a history of lying and all of the things, or they have a history of maybe having some policies or saying some things that you didn't like. If they have a history of that, you're not going to have any kind of confidence in them. So when they come out and say something, you know, hard to hear, you're not going to assume the best. You're going to assume the worst because of what you've heard in the past. You know what I mean?
And you're not.
What are you thinking, Dale?
You're not even going to give them a listen.
Of course not.
Made your mind up.
After a while. After a while. And to a certain extent, if an individual has come out and lied and lied and lied and manipulated, at some point you're doing yourself a favor by not listening to them anymore. And this is where discernment really has to come in. You have to be wise in listening and paying attention to what's going on, not just to the source from the individual speaking, but all of the sources around them, what's going on, and you have to be wise. You have to really be on your toes.
The advent of social media and all of that, everybody has a voice, which can be bad and good at the same time, because then you have all these different voices, and maybe a politician says one phrase, and 60% of your news feed is saying, "Oh, well, that was horrible," and 40% is saying it's good.
Oh, it's the best
so
thing.
You're going to have to decide that for yourself. Yeah, and so part of that is it's like a peer pressure thing. You're going to have to say, well, I'm going to put those voices aside, and some of them made some good points, and I will take that into consideration. But I have to use my wisdom, like you're saying, Seth, to make my own decision, whether it's on side A or side B, or it's something kind of in the middle. Who knows,
And I think if there's one thing that we can take from this conversation, is that in order for us to improve relationships, both just our personal relationships with those that are around us that we care about and love, our business relationships, social relationships of all kinds, we have to put forth effort to understand the other person. We have to be prepared to set down our defenses. We have to be prepared to set down our preconceived ideas of who they are for a variety of reasons. And we must make the effort to listen, to try as best we can to understand their viewpoint and why is it that they are saying what they're saying. Now, the flip side is it is not unreasonable for us to then ask the same from the person who is speaking. If we're putting a lot of effort into listening and understanding, then when the discourse happens, when the conversation happens, it's not unreasonable for us to expect them to show us the same. And then, man, things are going to change. Things will happen. Progress will be made.
And that's... I was just going to say, I think that's why it's important to have that active or whatever, mirroring going on too. Because
let's call it
mirroring.
active
That sounds
mirroring.
great. See, we're meeting in the middle. Oh, yay.
We are.
But I think that's helpful because then you're going to start learning more about people. Because instead of just assuming what they're saying from the get-go, if you ask for some clarification and maybe repeat back what you're hearing, you might be able to go, oh, that's not what they said. And also, let me clarify too, when you're repeating it back, if you're doing it in a sarcastic or rude tone, just so you know, that's not going to work. I'm doing this with my almost 4-year-old now. I'm like, if you talk to people nicely, they're more likely to help you. And if you yell and scream at them, they don't want to help you. It's a pretty decent,
very good,
bare bones thing.
Yeah. There's a lot to that. So in the upcoming episodes of our podcast, we're going to try and find one or two examples of something that somebody has said and it has been misunderstood. Now, the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for doing this is, of course, politics. But I don't want this to be a political podcast. We're not going to just deal with politics. We're going to talk to a whole bunch of people in a whole bunch of areas about a whole bunch of things, and that's what we're going to focus on. What did they say? Let's try and figure out what did they mean, and we're going to really work on that. So that's what we're going to be doing. If you've got an example, something that you would like us to chew on and dissect, send it to us at sethmilamedia@gmail.com. And if you are just listening to this on a podcast, wherever lovely podcasts are sold, of course, we have a YouTube channel. Somebody asked me the other day, are you a podcast with a YouTube channel or are you a YouTube channel with a podcast?
It doesn't really matter now.
What's the difference? The answer is yes. Yes. But if you're just listening on a podcast and not watching the video on YouTube, you're going to miss out on the little cartoon animated short that follows this right after you see the ending logo. So don't shut this off. Don't turn it off. There's about a 30-second little cartoon that I think you're going to find quite fun. At least, I hope so. All right. So until our next show, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for letting us, have a few minutes of your time. Until we get together again, be good to yourself and try your best to understand the other people around you. And you know what? Try and think of them and as much as you think of yourself. Give it a shot. I don't know. I read that in a book somewhere. I don't know. All right. We'll talk to you next time. Take care, everybody. See ya.
Hey, Miss Jess.
Yeah.
All right. Where does a rainbow go if it has broken the law?
What?
Where does a rainbow go if it has broken the law?
I don't know.
Prism. Get it? Prism.
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 I get it.
Okay.
All right.